Alright, budget magic time. Playing some Burn at the Stake Soul Sisters in Modern. Wooded Foothills for our opponent. Cracks it. Stomping Grounds. Untap. And Experiment 1. Let's just go Plains and Soul Warden. Pass the turn. See what our opponent has. Bloodstained Mire. Wild Nicodle. Gains us a life. Pumps up the Experiment 1. Gets in for 2. Down to 19. Well, Battlefield Forge, Soul Attendant. Gains us a life. And let's get rid of this Experiment 1. Opponent gets a Sacred Foundry. Tapped. Pass the turn. Forest for our opponent. Lightning Bolt, one of our Soul Sisters. Alright. A very sad Bushwhacker, but a Bushwhacker nonetheless. Opponent's down to 2 cards. So I get in some damage here, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. So we drop down to 14. Ooh, Genesis Chamber. So let's just Windscarred Crag, gain a life, Lightning Bolt, the Nicodle, and pass the turn. And then next turn, I probably should have got in for 1. Next turn we have Genesis Chamber into Squadron Hawk, which is pretty good. Burning Tree Emissary for our opponent, gains us a life. 2 cards in hand. Another Bushwhacker, 1 card in hand, gains us another life. So we're taking 8, but then we're going to start gaining a lot of this life back. And our opponents should be about out of creatures. So we're down to 8, but we play a Mountain. We play a Genesis Chamber. We play a Squadron Hawk, search up a whole handful of Squadron Hawks, gain some life, get a token, gain some life. So we go back up to 10 and get a bunch of Hawks for next turn. Get in for 1 and pass the turn. See what our opponent can do here. 2 cards in hand. Opponent gets in with Burning Tree. Well, we're just going to double block. Killing our opponent's stuff is fine. Now we just want a payoff card of some kind. Not exactly Battlefield Forge, but Squadron Hawk, get some tokens, gain some life. Alright, opponent's going to kill our Soul Warden. Squadron Hawk, get a token, no life gain though. Battlefield Forge, pass the turn. Well, we're pretty close to winning if we draw a Burn at the Stake. Land for our opponent, and passes. Windscarred Crag isn't super exciting, but Squadron Hawk, get another token. We are out of Hawks, but now I think we start attacking. Just play Battlefield Forge, pass the turn. Opponent finds a Nicodle, gets a token, passes. There's a Pride Mate. That's a good draw. Pride Mate, get a token. Windscarred Crag, gain a life, put a counter on our Pride Mate. Get in with our Squadron Hawks. So Burn at the Stake would be insane here. Any of our Soul Sisters would be very good. What did our opponent find? A Burning Tree Emissary. They might be holding a land in hand. Opponent, trying to figure out their attacks, decides to attack with Nicodle. Well, this feels bad, but I think we just trade off with the Pride Mate. There it is. Boom. Good timing for that. So, tap 5 creatures. Burn at the Stake. And that should do it. Sweet. Well, Burn at the Stake, pretty solid. What do we want against this deck? That is the question. Probably Bolt. Going down what? Maybe just 1 Genesis Chamber and try it like that? Alright, this is pretty decent. Slightly slow, but decent. We have the Pride Mage Soul Warden combo, which is about where we want to be. Arid Mesa for our opponent passes. Well, let's just Temple of Triumph tapped. Outnumber, I think we put to the bottom for now. Pass the turn. 2 Squadron Hawks isn't great, but Arid Mesa for our opponent. Stomping Grounds untapped. Bloodstained Mire cracks it. Gets another Stomping Ground and Burning Tree into Burning Tree into, oh my god, that is 3 Burning Trees and a Wild Nicottle. Well, our opponent's empty-handed, but they have a lot of things on the battlefield. Well, I guess our plan is to Battlefield Forge, Soul Warden into Soul Warden, gain a life, and pass the turn. We wouldn't mind drawing another land. Opponent swings with the crew. We're taking 8 down to 12. This might be the best mulligan I've ever seen. Curd Ape off the top. Gains us some life. Well, there's Windscarred Crag. So let's... a Johnny's Pride Mate. Gain some life. Grow our Pride Mate. Gain some life. Grow our Pride Mate. Windscarred Crag. Grow our Pride Mate. I can't believe they... did they mulligan to 5 and have 3 Burning Trees and a Wild Nicottle on turn 2? That is absurd. That is super absurd. Opponent swinging with the team. Well, we take out this Curd Ape, take 8. Down to 9. Oh my god! I can't believe it. Our opponent drew a bolt. Well, Soul Attendant gains us some life. This is the craziest running I've seen. Norin of the Wary gains us some life. Bolt the Nicottle, exile Norin. Get in with our Soul Wardens. I think we're still okay just because we can gain so much life, but that is the craziest mulligan. If you're going to mulligan, that's the way to do it. So we're still up to 16, so I feel like we're pretty safe. Opponent goes attacking, which is fine. They hit us for 6, but we get to exile Norin, so we're going to gain 3 of it back at the end of turn. So down to 10. Another Curd Ape. Well, so our opponent's attack didn't really do much of anything. We just gain all the life back. So that's our advantage here, is we can just gain a ton of life. Oh man. Burn at the Stake will win us the game if we ever get to cast it. Squadron Hawk, exile Norin. Gain us a bunch more life. Search the Squadron Hawks out of our deck. Pass the turn. Can't really attack into the Curd Ape. The good news is at this point we're gaining so much life that even though our opponent can attack for a lot of damage, it's not really taking our life total down any significant amount. Here comes the attack. Gets in for 6. We exile Norin. Down to 16. Norin comes back. Back up to 19. Come on, lands for burn at the stake. Ooh, Genesis Chamber? Alright, well, I mean, we'll just do that. Genesis Chamber, exile Norin. Our life gain is going to get really out of control until our opponent can deal with our Soul Sisters. Opponent drops to 11. We get back Norin, which now adds a Genesis Chamber token to the mix. So we gain a bunch of life, get a token, which gains us a bunch more life. So we're gaining way more life than our opponent can take away at this point. Pass the turn. No attacks. Sacred Foundry. So it looks like our opponent, after the crazy 5-card hand, has cooled down a little bit. They're not scooping, though. Another Norin. Well, let's get in with Squadron Hawk. Exile Norin. Put our opponent down to 10. Play a Squadron Hawk. Can we just set up for the kill next turn, maybe? Gain a bunch of life. Get a token. Gain a bunch more life. Play a Norin. Might as well. It's going to legend rule itself, but we gain a bunch more life and get another token. So our opponent needs like a Pyroclasm effect. And then Norin comes back. We get legend ruled. But go through the same process. So we're up over 40 life here. So even if our opponent manages to find a Pyroclasm, we're at such a high life total, I don't even know if it loses us the game, honestly. And we got the countdown to burn at the stake if we just ever draw lands. No attacks. Our opponent's not giving up, though. Curd Ape gets our opponent a token, but gains us even more life. So we're going to be up over 50 life by the end of this turn. Norin comes back. Lots of triggers. Get a token, gain some more life. So we're up to 55. Well, champion of the parish. Go through the loop. We don't really have a way to grow it right now, unfortunately. Keep stacking our triggers. Keep gaining our life. Squadron Hawk. We are slowly... I think we just overwhelm our opponent for the win next turn if they don't do something crazy. And we have so much life. So get in with our Squadron Hawks. Put our opponent to 8. Get back our Norin at end of turn. Man, imagine how good this burn at the stake would be. It would be a burn at the stake for like 100. We do get the counter on the champion from Norin. Gain a bunch of life, get a token. So I think if we just push with everything next turn, we should win. Our opponent has 6 blockers, and we have so many attackers. Opponent passes, we get a land. Well, if we attack with everything, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's not do it this turn. Let's just get in with the flyers. There are ways it could go wrong if our opponent had specific things. Play a planes, pass the turn. I'm not even going to play the Squadron Hog. It just doesn't matter. This also gives us the possibility of the world's greatest burn at the stake, which would be awesome. Opponent facing a 79-6 life total discrepancy. Passes. Alright, we don't get a land, but we should still get the win. Get in with our flyers, exile Norin, and then just lightning bolt for the last 3. Opponent drops to 3. And then lightning bolt to the face to finish it off. Well, I wanted the burn at the stake, but we'll deal with we'll deal with the 79 points of life. That's still pretty good.